All right, everyone, it's time for PowerPoint Karaoke. Good afternoon. It's just barely afternoon. Actually, according to that clock, it's not quite afternoon. And we, if nothing at Fearless, are accurate. So, good almost afternoon, and welcome to PowerPoint Karaoke at Fearless Fest 2023. For those of you who have not experienced PowerPoint Karaoke before, this is an improvisational structure in which our performers will give a PowerPoint presentation in which they have never seen the slides, and the slides make absolutely no sense. They will come up with a presentation topic, which they will let us know before they start, and then we will wish them good luck. The slides have been prepared by the fabulous Melissa Kirscher in the booth. There's Melissa waving. Those of you watching online cannot see Melissa waving at the moment, but let me assure you, she is indeed waving from the booth. Let's go over the rules to PowerPoint Karaoke, and then we'll introduce our judges for today's match. Each contestant will be given 6 minutes to complete the presentation. They will be given up to 5 points in each of the following categories for a maximum total number of points of 20 points. That's a lot of points. Content and credibility is worth 5 points. Poise and gestures, flow, and audience response, that one's all on you. Those of you online, if you respond loud enough, will know. So let's hear it when you hear it. But in order to give away points, we need judges, and thank goodness we brought some. So our judges for today's PowerPoint Karaoke match are Fearless Comedy Artistic Director Jason Kruger, Fearless Comedy Assistant Artistic Director Eric Thompson, and Fearless Comedy member and surprisingly funny individual Kelvin Hatley. They will be sitting in judgment on our presenters. Our presenters will be starting shortly. Let me bring up our first presenter for the afternoon. Please put your hands together for the talented and amazing Duck Washington. Duck, welcome to PowerPoint Karaoke.
Thank you. I'm thrilled to be here once again.
We can't wait to see what you have prepared for us. What is your presentation today?
My presentation is about how I decided to stop supporting Bill Cosby.
All right. I'm just going to go in the audience and watch this if you don't mind. Hey, good luck, Duck. Here we go.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for being here today. It's really important that you understand that things have changed. The way that things have been in the past are not the way that things should be in the future. For example, as a child, I grew up loving the works of Bill Cosby. I remember watching Fat Albert and imagining that I was one of the Cosby kids, or watching The Cosby Show and imagining that one day I might run off to Hillman College like Denise, or go on a date with Vanessa, or any of those things. I could imagine myself in this world that he created for me. But he became a little bit of a problematic person. Next slide. Yes, as you can see by this slide, there's the expectation of what we think we get when we're dealing with Bill Cosby, and that's a delicious muscle-formed cookie, just like this juiciness and this readiness that we didn't anticipate having. But then in reality, we have Leonard Part 6. All right, Leonard Part 6, which is weirdly vegan-phobic. A lot of people don't, they try to overshadow, the fact that Bill Cosby is, really, pushing down on a group of people, but they don't want to acknowledge that because he's so important to their childhood. Next slide. Yes. So, I don't know if you've watched an episode of The Cosby Show lately, But it's really a jarring experience. It's like running full force with a stick in your mouth into a couple of fence posts because you just can't look at him the same anymore. And it amazes me that some people still think that he's so amazing, that they can't just let go of that piece of their childhood and continue to support things that he works on. Next slide. So, a lot of us don't make money doing comedy. A lot of us don't. But Bill Cosby does. And so when you're sitting there and you're going like, oh, my couple of dollars that I spent on this pudding pop isn't gonna end up in Bill Cosby's pocket, you're wrong. That dude makes bank off of them pudding pops. Anything Jell-O, he's making money. Okay, when you watch that movie that he made with Harvey Keitel when they're in the ambulance or whatever, doesn't matter. He's still getting a check. So stop watching Bill Cosby shit. Stop it. It's not worth it. He hurt people. It continues to hurt people. Stop supporting him. Next slide. Yes. I have had many conversations with my friends about why they should not be supporting Bill Cosby anymore. And it always just turns into this WWFE standoff. I don't know how old this is, and whether it was WWF then or whether it is WWE now. But I will say that it's really important that you pick the things in your childhood that are real. Okay? This is not real, all right? What happened on The Cosby Show wasn't real. He wasn't an amazing doctor who loved his family. He was a guy who gave you Rohypnol in the bar, all right? That was the reality of the show. This is all cosmetic, but we have to remember the realness of Bill Cosby. Next slide. So, it's important that we decide where we eat. We get some choice in where we go. And I know that the pudding pops are delicious, and that for some reason that pudding pop just doesn't taste the same as the pudding pop that you would get at Popeyes or Kentucky Fried Chicken. Oh, I'm still talking about pudding pops, and not. but anyway. So, anyway, the pudding pops. There are other choices. There are other snack foods that you can eat. You can get push-ups, the Fred Flintstone push-ups. That's something that you can have instead of a pudding pop. You can have one of those rocket, that red, white, and blue rocket pop. That super phallic when you're eating it rocket pop. I really recommend that you do a rocket pop instead of a Jell-O pudding pop, okay? That's a choice that you can make. Next slide. All right. So, we all know that there was a little bit of a fall from grace. And, maybe we could give forgiveness to Bill Cosby or other people who do horrible things that ruin things that we love from our childhood, if they fessed up to them, right? If they were like, I made mistakes, I realized the error in my ways, and I feel guilty, and I want to change the world. But these people don't do that typically. Bill Cosby hasn't done that. I can think of at least one other person who people admire from their childhood who also hasn't done that. And without that sense of hubris, I think we should take everything that they created and pee on it. Just pee on it. Just throw it down on the ground and take a piss. All right? So I encourage you to do that too. Just throw it on the ground and take a piss. Next slide. Now there might be consequences to that, sure. Some of your friends won't understand. They just can't separate themselves from the Cosby kids. They remember Bill Cosby from the electric company, and they just can't live without their easy reader, you know. And that might be jarring, right? But again, he hurt people, and I'm just not going to stand for it anymore. The consequence is you get to be around people who are cooler, smarter, more awesome than those people who have to cling and hold on to those toxic things from their past. Next slide. So in summary, this presentation wasn't really about Bill Cosby at all. This presentation was about you and your choices, and the knowledge that just because you love something as a kid doesn't mean that you have to always love that thing. I've successfully moved away from Bill Cosby, who was a hero to me as a child. You know, he was a model of me being able to see myself in the world and the possibilities of what I can be. But that doesn't change anything. I can't support him anymore. I can't do that. So keep that in mind. Keep that in your hearts. Make good choices. That's my presentation. Thank you.
Wow, then let's keep it going for Duck Washington. That was a lot to think about, Duck. A lot to think about. Very thoughtful presentation. Judges, your thoughts on Duck's presentation about not Bill Cosby?
I thought one of the most apt things you did in that was compare just how awful he was to Leonard Six. And I can think of no better analogy than that specifically. Also, you reminded me of some things. First off, I forgot that Bill Cosby was part of the electric company. And now I'm even sadder that there's more stuff I just should not be a part of. And then also the dog with the stick and the fence metaphor, I think that was really on the nose. Thank you for including that slide.
Doug, thanks for including that slide.
My pleasure.
So first off, I thought at first my reaction was that this felt a little bit derivative of this wonderful play called Caucasian Aggressive Pandas and Other Mulatto Tales, written by the incomparable Duck Washington, and then I realized you are the incomparable Duck Washington, and then I moved forward.
Yeah, you can totally plagiarize yourself all you want, buddy.
I do want to thank you for providing the buff gingerbread cookies to us beforehand. I realized that they aren't bribery, they were actually part of the presentation, so I appreciate that very much. I gave you extra points for calling out Big Jello, so bravo there. But I removed points because you used the word cosmetic when talking about Cosby, and now that word is ruined for me, so thank you for that, Duck.
Well, I was certainly aware of the many horrible things that Bill Cosby has done. I was, however, not aware he was such a virulent anti-vegan.
Yeah.
That was like a cherry on top of the shit sundae.
He throws meat at vegans in that movie and they explode. That's actually.
As an aficionado of bad movies, I have never actually gotten around to watching Leonard Part 6.
Yeah, I mean, Duck, you might be the only person in this entire room that's seen Leonard Part 6.
I have a hunch that Melissa's seen Leonard Part 6. Am I right?
Yeah.
One more thing, Duck, I do want to mention that I forgot, and sorry to interrupt, Kelvin, but you said something that I just really took umbrage with, which was wrestling is not real, and that hurts.
Yeah, you're going to have to get over that, Jason.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, as a statement of solidarity, I do not believe I've had a Jell-O pudding pop in like 35 years.
Oh. Thank you. Well done. Well done, Kelvin. Let's hear it for Duck Washington, everyone.
I'm a Klondike bar man.
Our next presenter, is this your first time presenting at PowerPoint Karaoke?
I just come out.
You could.
First time.
This is your first time. It's Tom S.T. Let's hear it for Tom S.T. It says so right on the slide. Tom, what is your presentation today?
So I'm going to be talking about, to your investors, potential investors, about how to get rich quick by running a dark cabaret band.
All right, dark cabaret band to get rich quick. Sheem, I can't wait to hear about it. Here you go, Tom.
Thank you very much, Tim. Now, as you can see, I am dressed in goth casual for this presentation to prove a very important point that you do not need to be a full-blown goth to get rich quick running a dark cabaret rock band. And I'm going to show you how in 10 easy steps. Next slide, please. Yes, dark cabaret is the new opiate of the masses, my friends. You know, we've got Dresden Dolls, popular in the mid-2000s. We have Voltaire, popular with, for some reason, Star Trek nerds. I think because he has a whole album about Star Trek. But he also does all things dark and spooky. And so I think you will find, my friends, that this is a niche ripe for exploitation, monetarily speaking, that is. Next slide, please. So the first step to establishing your dark cabaret band is you need a name. And you need a name not only that is gold and glitzy on the outside, those appear to be Ferrero Rocher chocolates, just as an example, but then conceals a black, disgusting, slimy heart Brussels sprouts. Although those do look too nice to be the Brussels sprouts that we're talking about. You do want them to be less appetizing so that you communicate both the glamorous outside and the dark, rotten inside that you are trying to convey here. Next slide, please. Now let's talk about the Third Punic War, and that is a great segue into step 2, which is to find things that really get you fired up, because you're going to need that for songwriting material if you're going to go viral on TikTok or YouTube or Facebook, I guess. Because what you need to do is you need to capture the soul of these little dark, nerdy people and captivate them and get them into your particular brand of darkness and glam. Next slide, please. Yeah, so this is a great lead-in into step 3. So you need to take your audience by surprise. Maybe try to play one of those underground punk shows in the neighborhood basement of that college house. The one where the foundation is kind of like sinking and the first floor has maybe a big ol' hole in it, so that you just fall right down into the basement. And that is going to give you the element of surprise when you are talking, when you're trying to drum up. See what I did there? When you're trying to drum up press and buzz and words and hashtags for your goth dark cabaret band. Next slide, please. Now, this is where things get a little complicated, friends. You need to understand the psyche of your audience in order to be able to exploit them properly. You need to be able to look past the facade of the person and right into their very soul, so that you can properly create art that molds exactly to their specifications, so that they will spend money on merch and tour tickets and CDs, even though nobody has a CD player anymore. Next slide, please. Yes, these indeed are solutions for our era. The phone that is out of juice is ripe for exploitation in terms of subject matter. Whomst among us has not wailed in despair at realizing our phone is almost dead? And then I think the computer mouse and the hamster wheel speaks for itself. Next slide, please. Yes, the more goth you are, the bigger your hair gets. Look at me. I used to have my head shaved. Now, look, I mean, this could be you too. Next slide, please. It is important to maintain a work-life balance and stick it to the man by putting up the middle finger to corporate art making. Next slide, please. Need I say more? Next slide, please. You know, the often underlooked element is Midwesternness. The best goth bands have come out of Minnesota, Wisconsin, and Illinois. And I think this Venn diagram illustrates that perfectly. Next slide, please. Yeah, I think spite is the best reason to live, and it is also going to be fuel as the popularity of your dark cabaret band grows. Next slide, please. Yes, you do need to incentivize your band members to actually practice, which I admit is one of the most tedious steps of this process, but I guarantee you great rewards can be reaped if you make them wrestle with a stingray. Next slide, please. In summary, the last step to monetizing your music and your art and selling your soul is to cater to giant mecha kaiju on the internet. I hope you will consider investing in this wonderful opportunity. Thank you.
All right. Yeah, let's keep it going for Tom. Well done, Tom, with your first presentation. Judges, I'm excited to hear what you have to say. I personally don't think anybody can say enough about the Third Punic War, so I'm glad we got some information there. What do you think, judges?
One thing I want to start with is because this was a business-focused presentation you were giving, I would have really appreciated if you had dressed in business goth as opposed to casual goth. That would have been something I would have really appreciated. I was really glad you walked back what you were about to say about Brussels sprouts, because Brussels sprouts are awesome. I don't care what anybody says. Your fire imagery that you use when talking about the Punic War and capturing soul, I could tell you really, really worked on writing this. Also, where is this ideal punk venue you were talking about? Because I've been looking for exactly that house for at least 20 years.
It's so underground, I don't even know about it.
Yeah, and then I got two more quick things. One, always cater to kaiju. If I've learned anything from Reverend Matt, that's the truth. And then when you're presenting to your corporate giants, instead of the word exploitation, they will prefer, and I prefer, aggressive monetary manipulation.
Kelvin, would you like to go? No, you can go. All right. So, Tom, I loved that in your presentation, step 3 was a college basement house. I think progressing in a band, getting to step 3 in the college basement house is a great progression. And it feels very on par for other get-rich-quick bands that I have heard about. I was very appreciative that when you were talking about concerts, you then had a slide about dead phones, which I think would make my concert-going experience much better. I will point out that you said the more goth you are, the more hair you have, which proves that I am more goth than Kelvin and Jason. So thank you very much for that. I took off a few points because you had dogs so low on the reasons to live chart, and then I remembered that you have pet allergies and felt bad, so I gave those points back. So thank you for your presentation.
That was really nice.
Well, I have to confess, I've never been a particularly gothy person. I never quite understood the...
That's a shock, really.
Yeah, the subculture so much, but I was totally unaware of the Brussels sprout connection. So that was very illuminating. I was a little startled by the hair graph because it had the guy from Eraserhead kind of farther down on the graph. And okay, not a gothy person myself, but I would think Eraserhead is a pretty gothy movie.
Not that gothy, it seems.
But apparently it's not that gothy, so that was a little...
Goth equals more hair.
That was a little startling, so but that was also illuminating, so I think I did learn quite a bit from this.
All right, well, let's hear it for Tom. Well done, Tom. By the way, just a quick plug, since we've been discussing cash-grabbing bands, the Dregs are performing here at 5:30 this afternoon to help raise money for Fearless Comedy. Come on out for that. But up next, we have another presenter. Is this your first time, or have you done this before, James?
This is my first.
Another first-timer!
Yes.
That's right. Let's hear it for first-timer James Fairbairn. James, can you let us know what your presentation is going to be?
I plan to speak on giant robots and the causal relationship they have with the fall of communism and where we can take that in the future.
Actually, it's amazing in how it connects to Tom's presentation.
I was grateful to Tom for introducing the subject of giant mecha kaiju.
Yeah, that's pretty exciting. All right, can't wait to see where this goes, James. Here you go.
So I'd like to share with you something very near and dear to all of our hearts. We are, of course, in late stage capitalism right now. First slide, please. We are in a moment of history that we are experiencing ourselves very personally, sometimes in our personal checking accounts, for example. And what else is very personal to us? Our childhood, right? And if you are my age, first of all, take ibuprofen. Second, you will remember in our childhood the Berlin Wall, the USSR, and Voltron. And perhaps a little later, Power Rangers. Okay, good. You're with me. Next slide, please. So, in the 90s, right around the time, and a little bit before, right around the time of the fall of the Berlin Wall and the dissolution of the USSR, an idea was formed. The idea was getting stronger as an individual, represented here by Goku's biceps. The intense amount of personal training and success to become not just Saiyan, not just Super Saiyan, but like Super Ultra Mega Puzzle Fighter Saiyan Gold EX. That as an American, your goal was no longer to work with others, but to be a hero, to be a haloed savior, if you will. Next, please. So, the other thing that we were sold was the idea of leisure. But, as you can see, a leisure that you never quite obtain. It is merely to keep us busy and occupied while we work for a more global entity who is pooling all of our resources for example, a golden throne. As one may have, I would assume. Next slide, please. So, what you need to know is that this funneling of funds is not just in the United States, but all over. And with giant robots, as they rose to popularity in the 80s and 90s, and that idea of personal heroism and the icon of greatness and extreme power of especially the West became popular, communism crashed and became the bad guy. The 80s was also, 80s and 90s were where we stopped seeing nationalistic enemies in film and television and started seeing communist enemies in film and television. And the giant robots are fighting them. So with this slide, what you're seeing is the cycle. The cycle of returns on that. More giant robots in the field, right, of play, close to the hoop, if you will, becomes the instrument of success for the West, which attracts people around the world to do likewise, and so on circularly. Good, thank you. Next, please. So, also at that time, jorts were a distraction. And that was why they had to be mocked mercilessly and put down by the global machine. Parkour, training us all to become Power Rangers. That was actually an instrument of the success of the fall of communism and the rise of giant robots. And raisins, I just felt I would mention that they're good for you. Please, eat more raisins. But with that cycle that we talked about, with the rise of giant robots, with the fall of communism, we began to see that taper off. And as interest slowly waned, next slide, please. As interest slowly waned, we saw diminishing returns as product replacement slowly dwindled. New Power Rangers were not making as much money as original Power Rangers. Voltron was all but forgotten about. Until recently. You may have noticed there is a new entry from Software. Next slide, please. Which, like this product, challenges us to internalize extremity, to take extreme measures, and to grasp our future, however painful it might be, to take it onto ourselves. And what we are seeing now is the third wave of giant robots, where they are no longer the instrument of the fall of communism. They are no longer the instrument of the rise of capitalism. Now, the unity of the giant robot with new Voltron, with new armored core, with new things that emphasize union, we are seeing the counter-strike of giant robots representing communism itself and the power of the worker. Next slide, please. Here, we see the other part of the giant robot equation. What separates the third wave from the first and second are the tools that the giant robots carried. Early giant robots faced with guns and with swords. New giant robots with drills and hammers. All of them tools of the working person. It's very important that you look at what the giant robot is carrying and what message that carries to you. Next, please. In summary, we must look at the dangers of corporate capitalism globally, not just for animals in the wild, but for ourselves, plainly. We must rise up as giant robots, as unions of mecha strength, and find the good for the working person. Thank you.
A lot to think about there, James. Keep it going for James Fairbairn. All right. Judges, your thoughts, in case you had any.
I have a couple. First of all, as somebody who is in his early 40s, the reminder to take ibuprofen would have been really useful if I hadn't just done so, but it was still appreciated. I really appreciate also your bold choice to represent American exceptionalism with Goku as opposed to Superman. A lot of times those two characters are compared, but usually we associate Superman with America. I think Goku, deserves just as much right to represent America despite not being invented there. The idea of leisure is exactly true. That was correct. I also think the field of play instrument of success, I really could tell that you worked a long time on that slide, and putting it in the clearest terms possible, I really appreciate that, as well as your explanation for jorts. One thing that I thought you were going to have on your slides, because you had the image there, and I was just waiting for you to talk about it, and you missed it, and maybe you're not aware, but was the fact that the California Raisins under Reagan were part of a CIA operation, and that was something that you were so knowledgeable about the rest that I was just super surprised you didn't mention that.
Well, it's a short presentation. You can't include everything.
That's true. That's true.
James, I really appreciate your presentation today, but I gotta say, buddy, I have some real concerns with it. First off, you used a Dragon Ball slide, but I didn't know where to follow because you didn't start it by recapping what happened on the last Dragon Ball slide. So I felt a little bit lost there.
It's very important to the process.
I will also note that this was, of course, a very nerdy topic, and you are a very nerdy person. The bathroom slide. I take concern that the second picture was very clean, despite this being a nerdy topic, and it was clearly related to sports. Which you proved, I wasn't going to say anything, but you proved it by noting that it was a field, not a basketball court. And then later said that there was a hoop. So clearly, not only do you not know what it is, but you're also mixing your sports, which kind of proves the point.
Yeah.
I will also point out that I'm a bit confused in general at the moment because you had a slide about flaming hot Tampax, and considering that there are 3 male judges here and 2 men on stage, I'm not sure if it's a bigger faux pas for us to not mention it or to mention it. And that's something that I'm just going to have to tackle.
It could be both. It could be both.
It could be both.
Well, I would just like to say that I really appreciated the raisin advocacy. I think raisins are an incredibly underrated snack, and the oatmeal raisin cookie is a really unfairly maligned treat. I really love oatmeal raisin cookies, and I don't know why they get all the hate. But I really wanted more detail on the tuba toilets. I mean, you've got tubas and you've got toilets, 2 inherently super funny things. And they're combined into one Voltron of comedy here. And I was just hoping something more would have come out of the tuba toilets, because I think that's a really key element here.
I honestly hoped that nothing would come out of the two.
Yeah. That would be. Yeah, that'd be crossing the line from comedy into horror, I think. So, but yeah, it'd be nice if you expanded on the tuba toilets. That's all.
Yeah. By the way, Kelvin Hadley will be going on his book tour for his new book, Tuba Toilets: The Voltron of Comedy. Coming to a Barnes & Noble near you. All right, let's hear it for James once more. Well done, James. We have our final presenter for the afternoon. This is a past champion, much like Duck Washington is a past champion. That's right. 2 beginners, 2 past champions, all absolutely fantastic presenters. Let's hear it for Andrea Rapella. Andrea, what is your presentation for us today?
It's the Ryan Murphy Idea Generator.
The Ryan Murphy Idea Generator. I can't wait to see what ideas are generated. Take it away.
From horror to musicals to teen comedies to biopics, Ryan Murphy churns out a lot of hits. And one thing that you will know when you see a Ryan Murphy project is that it will be undeniably gay. So I would like to present to you a project that I have been working on, my Ryan Murphy Idea Generator. Here are the ideas. Number 1. That's right. It's choreography, it's dancing, it's turning, it's tumbling, it's Olympic prep mixed with thready, hot, queer romance. That's right, we have John Smith. John Smith, a professional hill roller, and James, his foil, his other professional hill roller, going down that same hill. Who will win the ultimate hill rolling competition? Or will they win together? We might find out in the next idea. That's right. Have you ever awkwardly walked down the street? You know, you've just been walking, and all of a sudden, whoop, you're upside down. Well, I'd like to present to you the upside downer. That's right. It is a phenomenon that only happens next to street signs. They have this weird magnetic energy that just get to you. Also, the street signs are gay. Let's take a look at the next horror project. Do not go into the water. That's right, because we're gonna put things in the water. Did you know that there is a dead volcano under Austin, Texas? Well, there's also one under Yellowstone. And you know what Yellowstone has? Hot springs. But what Yellowstone doesn't have? Gators. So we're gonna take those hot springs and we're gonna move them to Florida. Because why not? It's Ryan Murphy. He can do whatever he wants. He did Dahmer. Speaking of Dahmer, let's take a look at this slide. I believe that this project speaks for itself, but I will try to illustrate the complexity to you. You see, American Horror Stories is 10 seasons of a different story every single time. Well, what if we took The Sound of Music? We mixed it with Willem Dafoe's character from that Irish kid movie where they beat each other up. And we threw in A Clockwork Orange. Now, hear me out. We take all that and we make it a reality TV show where you bake. That's right. We're gonna call it Baking with the Stars. It's still a workshop title. I'm still working on it. So while I work on that, let's take a look at the next idea generation. So the one thing that we haven't done in Ryan Murphy Productions is Star Wars. We don't actually have the licensing or rights, and Disney won't hire us to make those things. So we thought we'd give people the next best thing, DIY Wars. Because nobody can get mad at a kid dressed in a costume, right? Okay, maybe that's not like the best idea, but apparently it's a trend, and we at Ryan Murphy Productions want to capitalize on trends. So look for this fall. It is called Soapbox the Musical. Speaking of musicals, let's take a look at this slide. All right. You are a lonely mall security guard. With the power to go invisible. Well, it's not really invisible. It's only a very narrow band that only certain people can't see. But you are important. You gotta get back. You gotta clock that 9 to 5, protecting the mall as, you go home to your lover. We're gonna call this Visibly Spectrum. Right, it's a play on words. We're gonna pronounce it visibly, not visible. All right, so not all these shows are gonna be winners, but I guarantee you the next one the idea generator cooks up will be a winner. That's right. So, we had The Town That Dreaded Sundown. We had American Crime Story. We have 911 and 911 Lone Star. But are you ready for 911 plumbing? That's right. I mean, you call, there's all kinds of things we can exploit. We can exploit lead in your pipes. We can exploit somebody installing a networking switch in your bathroom. We can go to fixer-uppers' houses and just scare the shit out of them. 911 Plumber, coming this fall by Ryan Murphy. And if that one doesn't sell, wait till you see our mid-season replacement. That's right. It is. It's a stunt show, right? It's a stunt show with a twist. You see, it's also a dating show. And the way that you find your perfect match is how far are you willing to go for that perfect match? Will you wear aviators, get inside of an F-16 Tomcat and just sail? Well, not really sail because it's a plane. We're workshopping it. Only to find your love down on the ground on the tarmac as you try to desperately land. I feel like this will sell, and if it doesn't, we'll give the people $500,000 for trying. Speaking of $500,000, this next is my $500,000 idea. So, Ryan Murphy hasn't tackled xenomorphs. He hasn't tackled family. Well, I mean, actually he has. He's tackled it a lot. It seems to be a common trend in what we do at Ryan Murphy Productions. But have we tackled family meets comic books? No, we have not. So coming this spring as our post-mid-season season replacement, I present to you Webbed, the story of love. Thank you, and I hope you enjoy the shows that are coming out.
Keep it going for Andrea. Well done. Well, Andrea, while you were doing your presentation, our judges were workshopping some thoughts about it.
Oh, really?
Let's hear what they have to say.
I'm really glad that I am not the only one that just randomly ends up upside down on my head while I'm walking. So thank you for raising that awareness. I'm worried about your soapbox the musical idea because I feel like it's going to suffer from some of the same pitfalls as Starlight Express. So just be careful about that. And then, again, you're not exploiting. It's assertive monetary manipulation.
Oh, right.
I didn't feel like this was for me at first, and then you said, have you ever awkwardly walked down the street? And I thought, yes. So you hooked me back in there. I think I blacked out during idea 5, but now I just want cookies and hate Spider-Man. So I've never related to a security guard as much until you said, imagine that you're a security guard, lonely and unseen. That's comedy, folks. Wow. And I wasn't sure. You said everything up top. You said everything would be gay, and I was really waiting for a lot of that to come in. And I was worried until I saw a slide that involved Top Gun, and then I was back. So great job.
Well, I have to confess, I've never been the most enthusiastic viewer of reality TV, but I think some of these ideas are fairly interesting, like the whole celebrity baking show. I'm genuinely shocked that hasn't happened yet.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that just seems like another Voltron of an idea that hasn't happened yet that should happen. And I'm also really, really excited about 911 plumbing. Because, again, as I've sort of alluded to in the past, it involves toilets. And I don't think we've really examined just how central the toilet is to our everyday existence. I mean, can you imagine life without a toilet? It's kind of horrifying, So I think there should be more toilets. I think we should have a celebrity toilet, like a celebrity plumbing toilet show. I think maybe the security guard could investigate toilet-related incidents at the mall. I mean, just toilets. I think that's what it needs.
That's chapter 8 of Kelvin's new book, Toilets. All right, let's hear for Andrea. Well done. All right, folks, we're reaching the end of the show, but we do have one more presentation while our judges figure out who the winner of today's show is. However, the problem is the presentation that we're going to be doing is done by our judges. So it makes sense then that their presentation will be who wins PowerPoint karaoke and why. Okay. So presented by our judges, our final team round, who wins PowerPoint karaoke and why? Take it away, Eric, Jason, and Kelvin.
All right, so there are some really important factors that we wanted to take in. Obviously, the 4 or 5 factors we're supposed to judge on, but especially the factor that is indicated on this next slide. So, go on, Garrick.
That's right, gilding the lily. I think it's incredibly important to know that when you are doing a presentation, not only do you need to be knowledgeable, not only do you need to get your idea across, but you need to pander. You need to know the people that you're presenting to, because if you can't manipulate them to give you money and support you, then you might as well be walking on Legos, which, coincidentally, you can give money and support us and make us walk on Legos. Next slide, please.
Well, this, of course, ties in with my toilet-related emphasis on our lives. I mean, you know, like, toilets are a central fact of our life, and that means toilet paper is also a central fact of our life. And, you know, it should be used more frequently. Not just for the usual, you know, the expected use of toilet paper, but, you know, it could also... Have you ever heard a cat just clomping around your house? Just that heavy stomp, stomp, stomp noise the cats make. But, you know, put some toilet paper on the cat. Calm, you know, quiet that sound down. And I think that's, you know, relates to, you know, a presentation. You know, like find your central thesis, in this case, toilets, and just over-apply it to every aspect of life. And I think that's a good idea. Next slide.
Jason, would you like to stand on the side without the Legos?
Yeah, it's probably a good idea. So, also, we were looking for our presenters to be practical. The type of people that will lock their car, take their purse, hide their strength, and release 1,000 bees. If I don't feel like you have released 1,000 bees on me while giving your presentation, I don't know why I'm wasting my time with you. I want the bee stings of your facts, opinions, and creative takes on why and how you should do whatever your presentation was about. Yeah.
So we were looking for something that was innovative. We were looking for something that would really show us who you are, so that we could get just some quick knee-jerk reaction to what it would look like if we were going to support you. Which is why, of course, we made our judgment using the first 2 slides of your presentation. Because clearly surface level is what matters the most. And it's not the details that we get into for truly knowing you. It's just the boxes that we could put you in our first knee-jerk reactions. Next slide, please.
Yeah. So, you've got this one, yeah?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
You know, you really got to be careful with your use of statistics. You know, because you can kind of describe anything with statistics. You can cherry pick them. You can, you know, selectively pick your data and grossly manipulate what you are trying to say, you know, and bend it to your will. And you have to be a little more honest about that, because sometimes that's just going to fall on you. It's just going to come right down on your head.
Especially if you use too much. As you see in this graph, it's gotten too high, so it wasn't stable, and now these 3 people are going to die.
Yeah, like, oh God, all this data, I can't process it. Ah!
And if I could add, please note that there were 3 people there, and we have 4 presenters, and we'll have 1 winner.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's...
Yeah.
Next slide.
Now, it's important to know what trends are on the rise and what the kids are into. Okay? Because, look, I know last year on TikTok, the ball-gagged avocado was what all the rage was about. It was, you know, how to destroy a bathroom and how to ball-gag your avocado. But that is no longer what people are all about. Now it's shibari bananas. And if you do not know how to centrally tie up your fruit, again, you're not keeping with the trends.
This is what happens when we support ideas like avocado toast. This is where they lead to.
Avocado sex.
Yeah. There's just I can tell that a lot of love went into this. A lot of love went into every presentation. And that has made our day really special. But behind that love, I can also tell that each of you had to go through some trials and some tribulations on your journey and have, in the past, broken down on the side of the presenting information highway. And I do want to thank you all for putting that work in and really showing us the love that you have.
We know you put your best foot forward, but we could tell that behind you there was a slide presentation that you put together in the 5 minutes before the show. I don't want to name a name, but...
Oh, you got this?
So what we're trying to say is, much like a small portion of your mother's time, we are also proud of you. Aww. In this small area, we are proud of you. Yes. And both we and your mother have these other areas. But here, we are proud of you.
Yeah. Now...
we're so proud of you that I think we all want to take you out for Mexican food.
Yeah. And not only on a Tuesday.
And the full price Taco Bell taco.
Right. And
yeah.
And we're gonna go to a place with good tacos that are so good that they actually remain intact in your stomach, as can be proved by an ultrasound.
Yeah.
They reconfigure themselves. They're amazing.
So you eat one taco and it's like eating an infinity of tacos. You'll be very full.
So in summary, because Infinity Taco is one of the ideas that we are going to support, clearly Andrea is our winner because it is the next Ryan Murphy production.
Yes.
All right, let's hear for Andrea Murphy and all of our presenters. Let's bring everybody up onto the stage. Give them one more round of applause, especially our winner, Andrea. There you go. But also Tom and James as first-time presenters. Well done. Well done to all of our judges. Absolutely spectacular final presentation. I couldn't understand your decision better than I do right now. My friends, this has been PowerPoint Karaoke at Fearless Fest. Let's hear once again for our fabulous creator of all these slides, Melissa Kirscher. Let's hear it for our fabulous presenters, our fabulous judges. I have been your host, Tim Wick. I hope you stick around for the rest of the day here at Fearless Fest. Have a great day, everybody. Goodbye.